Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time in the prompting land of MidJourney version 5.1, a young, beautiful, prompting princess was trapped within the confines of this desolate planet. And then something magical happened. MidJourney version 5.2 was released. And finally, I can find the red door and make my escape. Getting closer. I can almost see it. Uh-oh. I forgot the key.
Welcome back to the channel. MidJourney version 5.2 was released last week. A lot of changes have been added to this version. I am going to deep dive into each of them. So, in this video, I will cover 1. The changelog says it has improved aesthetic, sharper images, slightly improved coherence and text understanding, increased diversity, and they have fixed the stylized mode, which apparently was broken to date. The default style value has been set to 100, ranging from 0 to 1000. To test this, I will compare images generated from my previous comparison, but this time I am only comparing version 5.1 to version 5.2. You can check out my previous video comparing version 4 to version 5.1, including the raw mode. Second, they have added a high variation mode which is turned on by default, and a new setting when you try and upscale the images. Third, they have added a new command which is forward-shorten. This lets you analyze your prompt, shorten it with 4 or 5 variations, and tell you what exactly MidJourney understands and what keywords in the prompt have weightage. Lastly, I will showcase and test the zoom out feature, which is basically outpainting and can also be used to change the default image ratio. So let's get started. The first prompt I am using is a neon watercolor Jupiter on empty black background. Short and sweet. I am not using the seed command here. Version 5.1 is regenerated as a new prompt. The first image is accurate to what I asked. And surprisingly, even without using the seed, it was precisely the same as when I used the same prompt last time. Now let's look at version 5.2. Firstly, it seems too opinionated, but it's not really that. Secondly, it's just a planet. Where is the traditional Jupiter storm? I cannot recognize it as Jupiter at all. So if you look closely at the changelog, they did say Stylize is fixed. However, it's not fixed in version 5.1. And I tried this in version 5.2. And look, we now get the same style and image as version 5.1. All I did was reduce the Stylize from 750 to 100. The same prompt with Stylize 500. And with Stylize 1000. Let's go back to Stylize 100, which is the default. There is no way to check if there is any improvement in the aesthetic system as the Stylize was broken. So if you want your images to turn out similar to version 5.1, reduce Stylize to 100. If you want something more artistic, go up to Stylize 750. There is where I would stop. Stylize 1000 is a bit too much, in my opinion, but it depends on the image and what you want. I want a planet to look like Jupiter, but in a neon watercolor style. So I am sticking with Stylize 100 for this prompt. Let me revert to the more artistic look of the planet and show you the other features added in version 5.2. So let's go back to Stylize 750. Let's select the third image here for reference. Now let's look at the settings first. Everything is almost the same, except they have added the MidJourney version 5.2 toggle button, which is on by default. I have set the Stylize to very high. You might want to change that to medium, which is the default, or you can just enter --s then space and stylize the value after each prompt. The high variation mode is on by default. So if you re-roll the entire set of 4 images by default, it will have different variations compared to the low variation mode. If you don't want that much variation in the 4 sets on re-roll, change that to low variation mode in settings. Let's return to our Jupiter image and see the new options when we upscale the third image. Once you upscale, you can create very strong variations of this image or subtle variations. I have tried both of them, and here are the results. You can clearly see the difference between the two. This function works very well, and it is quite helpful. It gives you more control over the variations. I want to talk about the /shorten command, so let's return to version 5.2 Jupyter image with Stylize 100. Now, I use the command /shorten and then hit enter. It shows me a dialog with important tokens. And it gives me 3 buttons to generate images based on the shortened prompt. The prompt I used was neon watercolor Jupyter on empty black background. In my opinion, it is already short. The shorten command is broken for this prompt, and let me show you why. Maybe it works in long prompts, but we will see that later in the video. When I click to show details, it gives me insights into what MidJourney understands, what token it is using, and the weight given to it. Let's look at that. As per this command, Jupyter has a weight of 1, and watercolor, neon, and black have weightage approximately of 0.2 to 0.25. It shortens the prompt to watercolor Jupyter, black. This is where the problem is. The command says that the word background is useless, and its token weight is 0. So I went ahead and clicked on the first button to generate the image. And this is what I get. So you can clearly see the token on empty black background together has meaning. Either I have not understood what is wrong here, or the shorten command is giving inaccurate information, as the background clearly was taken into consideration by MidJourney and drastically impacted the generated image. So why does it say the weightage is 0 when it's clearly not? Later on in the video, I will try the shorten command with longer prompts and see what exactly is happening. For now, let's return to our Jupyter image from version 5.2 with Stylize 750 and check out the zoom out function. I used the zoom out 2x option and this is what I got. The zoom function does not increase the resolution in any way, but just outpaints. I like the third one over here, and you can keep zooming out as much as you want, but it will start showing weird results beyond a certain point. I will not do that right now. Let's look at the third image. Quite amazing. It is outpainted in a very natural way. Now you can custom zoom this image as well. When you click on custom zoom, you will get a prompt like this. In this dialog box, I changed the aspect ratio, say 16:9, the zoom to 1.5x, and keep everything else the same. And it generates the following image. And it is pretty impressive, to be honest. I love the third one here. After I custom zoom, it now gives an additional option to make it square again. And along with that, I can still keep zooming out. But what I want to do now is make this same image in an aspect ratio suited for my iPhone. So I go into custom zoom again, change the dash zoom from 2 to 1, and change the ratio to 9:16. And we get this lovely image in a 9:16 ratio. So I am pretty impressed with the outpainting feature of MidJourney. Let's move on and try the second prompt. For the second prompt, I am using a complicated and long prompt, and it is from the fashion video on the channel made previously. The prompt goes as an ultra-realistic fashion photo, full shot of a female with red curly hair with a walking pose in the style of Harley Quinn in the year 2023, wearing a psychedelic colorful punk core, polygonal, octagonal, triangular outfit, mysterious, ethereal, edgy, confident, using a Fujifilm GFX 100 with a Fujifilm GF 85mm, f-stop 1.7, WR lens, natural lighting with a reflector modifier, sharp focus, Maxwell render, photorealistic, ratio 4:3. The left image is what I got with Stylize 750 on version 5.1. All of them are beautiful. I like the first image. And the third one. The image on the right is what I got on the first roll with the same settings on version 5.2. And I like all of them. I decided to reroll anyhow to check if the AI can generate something better. And I got this. I prefer this one to the first. So now I will use the seed command and try different stylized settings. Let's try with the value S50. So with the value of 50, the image is pretty basic and somewhat lower in aesthetics compared to version 5.1. The background and clothing are similar, I guess due to the seed, but I like the goggles in the second image. Stylize value 100. As with the previous prompt, this is quite similar to version 5.1. It just looks like a reroll of the version. Moving on to Stylize 325. There is a reason why I choose 325 instead of 350. Using the same seed, 350 kept producing some nudity in image 3. I mean, it's the most I have seen in MidJourney so far. I just didn't want that image on YouTube. And this is not the first time. All my fashion prompts from the previous video have had weird results since they launched version 5.2. So sticking with 325. All the images are good, the background seems fine, and they are way better than 100, but they still lack in aesthetics as compared to 750. Let's check out Stylize 1000. In the previous prompt, I said Stylize 1000 would be too much, but not here. The images are beautiful. I love the style in image 1 and the fashion in image 4. Before I start using the zoom feature on the first image, I like to show you the shortened prompt using the new command. When I used the shortened prompt command, it almost took every bit of the prompt, which proves to show the prompt formulation made and showcased in the earlier fashion video works. I was surprised to see it cut off only the f-stop of the lens, the lighting, and the modifier. It also cut off the render and the word photorealistic, I think, because that's just a repeat. Now I generated the first prompt, which was the most comprehensive, and it gave the following using the same setting in version 5.2. Let's also change the image on the right to Stylize 750 for a better comparison. The shortened prompt works and did a very good job. This command works for very long prompts and is helpful in some ways. However, it doesn't mean that long prompts don't work. They do, and it's evident from the images generated. I think you can use the command to better your prompts rather than shorten them. And if something is not working, you can get to know what exactly is not working. As of now, I personally will be sticking to my own prompting formulas as the command did not work for the short prompt in analyzing the weightage. Whether this inaccuracy is across the entire system or only short prompts, I really don't know. Moving on, let's bring back the Stylize 1000 in full screen. I would be using the zoom function on image 1. So let's start. When zooming out or changing the aspect ratio, just a heads up, don't go to extremes. Like if you take this 4:3 image and sum out 2x with an aspect ratio of 9:16, you will get weird results like this one. Yep, let that sink in. The proper way to go about it is to go step by step. 1x to max 2x at a time. Once you are close to the tall ratio, you can change it. Don't pivot from a wide to an extremely tall or vice versa. So step 1. Zoom out 2x. Step 2. Zoom out 2x messed things up, so I tried to zoom out 1.5x. Final step. Zoom out 1.5x again. Beyond this, we start seeing weird things. Lastly, I changed the aspect ratio to 16:9. I don't recommend going tall with this image as the AI has a hard time outpainting and starts making the hands and legs weird. If you have a full portrait, you can go tall and zoom out and then go wide as well. I hope all of you enjoyed the opening story. It shows how this new version is making your creativity flow. What I love about version 5.2 is that it is a big step and a significant improvement, even though the devs just casually made it seem like a simple update via Discord. After generating over 10,000 images, believe me when I say it's not just a simple update. Some things, like the shorten command, are inconsistent. However, I did not pay much attention to the describe function as much. I guess it is still experimental and will get fixed. On the positive side of things, I played with version 5.2 for nearly a week and learned quite a lot. Cranking the Stylize up to 1000 produces jaw-dropping results, with most of my prompts that is. And sometimes, the whole system goes weird, and it makes me re-examine the entire prompt, change a few things, make it simpler or complicated, and I can get it to work. Shorter prompts with this version are good, but longer prompts are even better. And by long, I don't mean 2 pages long. Repeating the same thing over and over again does not help. Changing the token keyword does help. The zoom out feature is quite a powerful tool, but there is a learning curve to it. It doesn't take long to master it. But don't expect magical things to happen while using it. For many of my prompts, it worked, and for many, it didn't. Until I learned how to do it correctly. I bet the slideshow you are seeing right now, you cannot say which are zoomed out and which are original 16:9 ratios. When that happens, you have beaten the learning curve. And that is precisely what I like about AI tools like MidJourney. Always something to learn. Until next time.
If you have watched till here, thanks. Please like and subscribe, and hit the bell notification to receive a notification as soon as we upload a new video.